we go? Should we start?
Yeah.
You ready to go, Rob?
I think so.
A little bit closer. Yep, good. I thought you were like just rubbing your stubble on there. Sweet. Welcome back to the Chip Lunch Podcast. Imagine if we did the whole podcast like this. All right, ready? Everyone smile. I hope you're smiling because we're back on the Chip Lunch Podcast. Welcome back, everybody. It's good to have you here. Brayden, as always, it's a pleasure.
As always? Or?
As always.
As always. That's
always.
lovely. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Joel.
You're welcome. Would you please introduce our guest that we have on the podcast this evening?
We have Rob on.
Rob.
Yeah.
Rob? Sorry.
Rob.
Rob Dog. Rob Dog. What's your last name, Rob?
Daniel.
Rob Daniel. Two first names.
Two first names.
What a pleasure to have you on the podcast, my friend. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Doing
you.
pretty well.
Yeah?
Bit tired, but
Bit tired. What's been going on, man? Why are you so tired?
we're
We're gonna get real deep, real early.
just work and my brain's just gone mental trying to do assessment in 2 weeks when I needed at least 6.
Right. Did I hear right? You're doing a builder's license?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's going well. I'm liking the Tuesday and Wednesday evening classes.
Yep.
Which is site management and then rating plans and stuff. Monday is like learning codes or standards, whatever
building
for
codes.
the site,
Yep.
So not as fun.
which is just
Difficult.
just a very long way to say do this properly.
Do this to the code. Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you for. This is the best time to come on a podcast where you feel really tired and mentally drained, because that's what we usually do.
Is there any other way?
There's no other way to do a podcast. It always makes for good content. I think we should say that. Anyway, first question, as we ask everyone, Rob, how do you like to eat your hot chips?
An excessive amount of chicken salt
Yes.
on bread with barbecue sauce.
Wow.
If it is not soaked, I don't want it.
Really?
Not
So you
soaked
like it to
with
be like
barbecue?
almost soggy?
I mean, I kind of have my tactic. It's like a 50-50. Where you can still taste the chicken salt, but you get a good taste of the barbecue sauce.
And you said on bread. So
On
like
bread.
a sandwich?
On
Like
bread.
a
So
chip
like
sandwich?
a good sandwich.
One-
Or I'll just get like a hand. Just ate it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So when you put it on the bread, though, one piece of bread or two?
Oh, 2.
Oh, two. Okay. Because I find if you do it on two, it's more likely for the sauce to leak out the sides. Whereas if you fold the one piece of bread around the chips, you got it a bit more under control, like a taco.
Yeah. But I like it oozing out as well.
Oh, do you? Yeah, a
I
lot
mean-
of sauce.
Yeah.
Mm.
If it's not half a bottle, just chuck it away.
Jeez, your parents
Do you
must be really pleased with you just using so much sauce.
Do you have a go-to barbecue sauce? I know barbecue
Ooh.
sauce is
As in a brand or something?
Yeah, it's a contentious thing in a lot of
Oh.
households.
I don't know, but in the past, I've really liked a hickory barbecue sauce.
That sounds pretty gourmet.
Yeah.
I don't actually know, but I like it.
Not a HP brown sauce.
Oh, hey, yeah, is that still barbecue sauce or
I
not?
don't know. I
if
feel
it
like,
is.
yeah, that's what my dad goes for.
Because he's English though, isn't
No.
he? Oh, he's not. I feel like HP sauce is an English
Yeah,
thing.
it is an English thing.
So where does this hickory barbecue sauce come from, Rob? Is it just, do you make it?
No, definitely not.
I was just thinking about Todd's episode, which is the last
Yeah.
episode we may have done, like full episode that we did with a guest.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, I've like make sauce and he likes thrice cooked chips and all that kind of stuff, or twice cooked maybe.
specialist.
Yeah, he's a chip specialist. But
That's awesome.
okay, so barbecue sauce.
Another winner to chicken salt. We don't want to skip over that.
I was gonna say that. Oh
I feel
gosh.
like we've had a good streak recently.
Yeah. It really shows who really thinks about what they eat and who doesn't. Anyway, let's move on from that before I upset half the audience.
More than that.
More than half, yeah. That's probably 75% at least. Anyway, Rob, seeing as you are the focus of our attention, even though we like to talk about sauce and bang on about unrelated things, How did you become a Christian, Rob?
Well,
And before you said this, you were like, "Do you want the short story or the long story?" I'm like, "I want blow by blow account, the full director's cut."
okay.
Zack Snyder.
Well, damn. Am I allowed to say that?
We'll edit it out if you can't.
Okay.
Sorry, Dave will edit it out if we can't.
So, for a good few years, I guess, as any other kid, I was just going to church on Sundays, doing Sunday school. It was just another thing in our weekly schedule, I guess. I think, I don't know, I was pretty young, but I got baptized at a young age.
How old do you reckon you were? Approximate.
Maybe around 5, 6.
Yeah, okay.
It was just at Sylvania Heights Anglican Church. I don't know. That was our main church for a good while. But I think Mum and Dad felt like I don't know, it kind of didn't really feel right in a way, I guess. They started to feel like it wasn't as enjoyable. I don't really know how to explain it, but there was I guess a lot of older people and not as many kids my age, because I would end up kind of babysitting or just like hanging out with the younger kids until it was time to go. I'm not too sure what year we started to look for another church, but all of a sudden Mum and Dad were like, "Oh, we're just going to try something different. Have a look around what's there. We might go to there. If not, we'll come back to here if you want." But by that time, I guess most of the smaller kids have like either moved on to another church, or I'm having to make friends with the older people. And I don't think they were too keen, because I still am, but I'm like, I was too energetic for probably a little bit of a handful. But yeah, we tried that year, I would, let's say around 2000, 8, 9. Let's go with that.
Yep.
Roughly about then, checked out a church near Sutherland. Tried that out. We went there for maybe 1 or 2 Sundays. Tried it out. It was all right. The activities were pretty good. As a kid, I liked them, but I felt like the kids were like already very tight, made their friendships, and it was very hard to get into that kind of circle.
To break in.
Yeah. I guess you could say like the outsider, new kid, whatever on the block. My parents also found it a little bit hard to make new friends, since all the adults had their, I guess, small friend groups as well. I guess the second time, or it was second or third time we went there, was our last time. I'm not too sure if both Dad and Mum found Soul Revival when we were still at PAC, or it was one or the other. But I remember just being nervous again because I didn't really have any friends. But it was definitely interesting. Introduced to Ethan and all his friends, which still being a bit small, but just looking up and seeing it just felt like the other church is another group of people in their own friend group. So I wouldn't be able to get along, but Ethan, being energetic and friendly, just caught my I guess I caught his eye. He focused on me, said hello, I think. Then got introduced to Luke and all that. One one of the most memorable times there was when we played. I think it was Weeping Angel in the downstairs area. Like turning the lights on and off, Luke running around, someone hitting something. It was chaotic and great. I love that. Because even though it was like, I had to keep in mind it was also a church, as well as just fun to hang out as well. It was definitely a lot different to the churches I've been to and the setting. Like the older people wanted to be friends with the younger, vice versa. Everyone wanted to be friends. It was very friendly. Mum and Dad were a little bit edgy, but I think they ended up liking it because Stu started to talk to them and they and him. Same sort of story with Ethan.
Yeah.
So I guess my Christianity and faith kind of built up again because I felt like I belonged somewhere. I then I don't think I went to youth group as much because I was still a bit nervous. I wasn't too sure if I would get along and again fit into the circle of friends. But I decided to keep coming to Saturday. Try to keep a routine going again. Something we would in a way look forward to instead of having to think it's a chore. Fast forward to today, wouldn't really change a thing. Leading up, I guess meeting everyone was pretty encouraging. Seeing that the faith is very strong, and it's not switching off from when people walk out of the church. It's all the way through their life, and you can see it, which was really encouraging to see, not only from the older people but from the younger people, because I didn't really experience that in any other church, and I was just blown away. I think Mum and Dad were as well. I guess my faith got a bit stronger in around year 8 or 9. I was a bit on and off coming to the youth because I just didn't. I guess I just felt bored and I didn't want to. I don't know why. It was just my mindset for some reason. But I went to Camp 1, one of the Menai camps, and I think it was year 8 or 9, roughly then, when I wanted to, I guess, rethink my faith and then give my life to Jesus and God a bit more than what I had been. It was like, oh yeah, sweet. I go to church, sometimes go to youth. I don't know, but it was definitely a different environment. I went over to Menai as well, just because my friends were there from school.
That's an in-joke. Anyway, keep going.
And I just felt like since I had those group of friends, I got to know them a bit more than Ethan and then all these guys from Solis. I was more driven towards there. But towards the end of Camp 1, they have this thing where it's like, the last night, obviously, or one of the last nights, sorry. But if you weren't a Christian, or if you were and you wanted to be helped veer back on track with your faith or your walk with God, it was a very, I guess you could say, well, for me and some of my friends, it was an emotional night, and I don't really cry that often. Even if you show me like a adorable puppy, I will say it's very cute, but I won't cry. The best description I could put it is like I oozed out, the tears just oozed out like an egg, and it just kept on coming.
Right.
Didn't stop. But quite a few of my friends also wanted to be helped back on track. A few of them, I think, are still on track, a bit edgy, but there are a couple that have, I don't want to say derailed, but maybe a little bit off course.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back to here, and I realised, I don't really want to leave again or go anywhere else. So I guess second home, you could say.
I tell you, I didn't know that you were doing a marketing video for the church, so I appreciate that. You said something about fitting in might have been a bit of a struggle for yourself and also for your mum and dad and that.
Yeah.
Has that been something that's part of, like, is that a big part of your life that you've struggled to fit in many places, or you think it was just the church?
No, I felt like it was mainly the church, or the church setting. I felt like if I wanted to make friends, I could, like outside of church. But for me, being younger, I thought it was like it is a holy place, but like a very holy place in a way. And I thought younger kids had to be friends with younger kids, had to get along. Parents, same thing with their like age group, maybe a year or two older or younger. It was kind of just hard to find someone that really connected, or people you could just really connect with that, for me as a younger kid, it sounds terrible, but weren't as boring or were like very encouraging to see their face. Because for me it was just completely different scene. Stood out like a sore thumb for sometimes.
Yeah, it's really hard to walk into a situation where you feel like, or where people have been friends longer, where you feel like there's already like established relationships. I think unless you have one of those really outgoing personalities, I think it can be really hard to try and break into those kind of settings.
So that's something I think that we struggle with churches, is that like we're just often used to just the people there who have been there for a long time, and in terms of like welcoming newcomers sometimes, I think that's something that it's something to be thinking about all the time when we're at church. But I thought the other thing I picked up on what you said was, and like I'd like to ask you like what changed once you kind of recommitted to that at that camp, but just the point about you were saying that when you came to Soul Revival at a particular time, you noticed that people were living as Christians as all of their life, not really switching off, just like switching on, putting on the Christian switch, and they come into church and then switching it off again. Was that again something that you wanted to see more of, or you like had noticed it at the other churches you'd been at, and you're like, I don't like it? It almost maybe felt that those people weren't being genuine, or is that, and you wanted to see more authenticity in terms of like, do you believe this or not?
Yeah, I think probably more. I'm not too sure how to
That's okay.
So, but it was something that I felt like it was still a bit of a shock, but something that I needed to see and experience.
Right.
Instead of having people just act one way and then switch and then start doing the complete opposite of what I guess they're trying to preach or say no against to. It was
it's like you didn't want them to be pretending.
Pretty much no pretending. 100% genuine. But also in a way encouraging to do it yourself and just engaging for you, or for me as a younger kid.
Is there any reason why, like, you were looking for that a lot? Like, I want to see people that are being genuine rather than, you know, almost not two-faced, but like like you're looking for what is your actual genuine self? Why do you think you were looking for that?
Because I think in a sense it was just trying to get it something like a breath of fresh air, something new that was different to the stereotypical, I guess you could say, church gathering on Sundays and
what you'd grown
stuff.
up in.
Yeah,
right. When you recommitted, when you were at that Menai camp, which is really cool, and I think it's interesting how much power Jesus has in terms of like calling us back to Him. But what changed for you after that recommitment at that camp?
What changed? I guess
for you personally.
Probably my, I guess overall mood and wanting, longing, and encouragement to just come to Soul Revival in church, come to Fridays again at youth. I think one of
don't worry about it. It's fine.
I think one of my last years at that camp, I met a friend. Let's call him Mike. I'm just going to call him Mike. He starts with it.
His name's protected for certain reasons.
Yeah. He grew up in a very tough environment. I guess he was like me when I was a bit younger. He came into the scene with no friends. I could see he was a bit iffy and still a bit scared to talk to anyone. So being me and with my friends, I'm like, let's go over to this guy. Not staunch him, but like
I hope not.
but like just encourage him to hang out with us. Talk to him whenever I can, sit with him. We had dinner. If he was looking for a seat, try and free some space up for him. He, at the end of the camp, he was encouraged by probably one of the best role models of a leader I've come across, Keats. Not sure if you guys heard of him.
Nope.
Maybe other people have.
You mean the poet?
No. No. He's very encouraging. He also grew up in a tough environment, but he also, I guess, stepped Mike through this process of what it's like to become a Christian, what things might change, how you might feel, how you might act, how you might think around people that aren't a Christian. You may sometimes in certain environments get criticized, ask questions that you might stumble upon, all those sorts of things. And he said those are daunting, but we're all here to encourage you. If you need someone to speak to, we're pretty much family now. You can talk to us. And I could definitely see in Mike that it was a different environment that he grew up in. It's very encouraging to what he's used to. Long story short, he became a Christian. Him and I believe 2 or 3 other friends. I spoke to him after the prayers and the songs we did after that. I just asked him, what drew you to become a Christian? What changed your mind? He said, well, seeing all you guys at this camp, making friends with new people, but not forgetting the focus is on God and Jesus at the main core of what you're doing, is very encouraging for me, because he said, I haven't quite seen anything like that in a very big setting. So many people his age, older, younger, are just coming together, being absolutely pumped, losing our voice because we love belting out the tunes. Being so sweaty because of the mosh pits. It was great. He said you, like myself and Keats, the other leader, was one of the main reasons why he turned to God and Jesus. I was very encouraged there as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the thing I did remember actually what I was going to say was just some of the things you've spoken about along this description of how you became a Christian. It was just that sometimes, and I think I've felt like this in my experience, was that God's like calling us before we even know that He's actually calling us. Like you say you're looking for something different, or you're looking for people being genuine, and you're like, where is it?
Yeah.
And for me, it was like meeting Christians and then them loving me because they love Jesus. And I think that's what perhaps you're speaking about as well. I'd let you speak to that in a second, I suppose. But that's how I felt. It was like, oh, there's the thing I've been looking for a long time. Was that the same for you?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. You're like, there's more. Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah.
There's more to be.
I was thinking there has to be more. And that, I don't know, pretty much what you described.
Okay, sweet. Okay, we'll tick that box. The other thing that I was going to pick up on what you're saying was that you've identified with a couple of people about them growing up in a tough environment. What was like drew you to them? Is that your own particular experience, or just they'd been through a lot?
Partially a little bit of acknowledgement and experience in some sense, but definitely not to the extent. I guess I being the new kid in like 2 other churches, it's very daunting, and to even speak to new people and feel comfortable around them, it's you just definitely feel like the black sheep, and I could see, I guess you could say physically, that he was struggling a little bit just with connecting with anyone because of his situation. But I guess I try and do the same that everyone at Soul Revival did, just encouraged and welcomed them in.
Again, another thing to chuck on the marketing video. So at what age was that when you made that recommitment, when you were at that camp that you've really spoken a lot about, which is obviously is very formative for you? Oh
yeah, it definitely was one of my probably best fond memories.
Yep.
I don't know what age I was. What age are you in, year 9 or 10?
Year 9, so it would have been like 15?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
So what's the rest of high school?
15.
15, we'll go with 15. What does the rest of high school look for you when you're like, I'm going to be a Christian? Because what school did you go to, sorry?
Shy Christian.
Okay, cool. That's all right. It's all right to say that. So what was that? What was different now that you're going to school and you're like, no, I have really committed to Jesus here? The only reason I'm asking this so many questions is because you're only 20.
Yeah.
So I've only got 5 more years to cover from year 9. That's why I'm asking these questions.
Damn. Sorry.
We need the beep button.
Yeah. It's not. I think
it's okay to say nothing
like
changed as well.
Pardon?
It's okay to say nothing changed as well.
Things did change, but like mentally, I would think it was like a lot easier to change instantly. But found out obviously it's definitely not
the case.
I guess I wasn't really in a scene ever where I guess I was criticized for having a faith or something. Yeah, just nothing really challenging whatsoever. I guess probably me, myself, and I going through the thoughts of, okay, I have to act differently. I did have a bit of a potty mouth.
So did I.
Watch that.
So that's the only thing I used to get in trouble at school for was for swearing, and especially my only 2 detentions in primary school were for swearing. So, how many detentions did you get?
Probably like only 1,
It's not bad.
and that's for like pushing a kid through a flash screen.
Oh, tell this story, please. Given that you only did it once, why did you push a kid through a fly screen?
He was annoying me and a few of the other guys. I guess you could consider cool, and I'm like, I'm with the cool people, so I'm like, boys, watch this. I'm like, can I say shut up? Or
Yeah.
I said shut up and pushed him through the flash screen. And then, so helpfully, there was a teacher in the playground just behind me, came up, shoulder, what are you doing? Detention. I'm like, oh no. And then the boys were laughing. They were involved because they were just laughing. I guess that I think a couple of them threw something at his head. Let's call this bloke Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that was it. Just push him through flash screen because it was annoying.
And how was the door after you'd done this? Is it like a full fly screen door or is it half?
So it's like, say that's the windowsill. It was a full flash screen.
Come on, bro, give me the measurements. You're a builder. How many mil high?
How many mil? Jeez, let's say 18. No, yeah, 1640.
1640. Yep.
Yeah.
1640 high. And how wide?
How wide? Probably about 2 meters. 2,000.
2 meters wide.
Yeah,
That's a big door, isn't
it's
it?
a window.
Oh, it's a window.
Oh, it's a
Sorry, you said it's a
window.
window.
Okay.
Yeah, window. No, not a door.
Oh, so the fly screen is on the window,
Mm.
and then you've just pushed him through.
Yeah,
that.
because it was like sitting on the ledge.
So there's the window. The window's open.
Yeah,
on the
main,
inside?
Yeah.
the main thing's open.
So he was sitting on there,
no, the guy I pushed was sitting on there.
and then you've just pushed him through it just
Oh,
because
yeah.
he was annoying you.
Was this in primary school or high school?
This sounds
I
like
was
high
in
school.
I believe I was in year 5 or 6.
Okay, yeah.
And some of the boys told him it was annoying, so I'm like, I want to be cool. Let's just push him.
But you suppose you did that once, and then probably didn't. Like, contrast that to when your friend Mike.
Yeah.
Is that like you weren't really like if he was like a guy that was struggling or perhaps annoyed you in high school, in primary school, you might have pushed him through a window. But
Yeah.
like I think that's an important thing to think about is that you didn't do that with your mate Mike. You actually tried to love him rather than actually push him through the proverbial door. Brayden, any questions for Rob?
You only did a couple more years of school, didn't you? Left to do a trade.
Oh,
Yeah.
Year 10?
I left 2 weeks into year 12.
Okay. That's all right.
Yeah, which is like a pretty big shift when we talked about maybe like school, a bit of a shift, but a Christian school.
Yeah.
How did you find? Did you always know you wanted to leave and do a trade, or is that something you came up with a bit later?
I think when we did work experience in year 10, it was something that I'm like, oh wow, not in a classroom, getting experience. I find I'm better learning practically.
Yeah.
I don't know if that probably is some case for some people, but I'm like, you need to show me how to do it instead of just showing me on paper.
Yeah, okay, or like a textbook or
Yep. I'm like, oh, cool, and you also get money. I like money. I don't know, it was just a different environment that I loved. Year 10, I did plumbing, and I was just putting in sinks and toilets.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how to do that because I don't remember.
That's the thing. I couldn't be a plumber. You just have to deal with poo all the time.
I mean, it was considering I didn't really handle this poo at all because it was just like clean sink, clean toilet. I probably dodged the week they were gonna test that.
Yep.
But yeah, year 11, I think it was. Yeah, 11. I did work experience with a building company.
Just a residential builder or a commercial one?
Commercial for high-rise apartments and stuff.
Yep.
I don't remember the company.
Oh, that's all right.
Anyway,
that's all good.
I liked to see. Well, I found out I've always liked like knowing how everything on the site was put together, sort of whatever. So it was good to see all that stuff come together in that year 11 experience. I did being, I guess, the runt on the site, just did like little things, helped clean up, whatever they wanted me to do that week. I just thought to myself, I want to be a tradie boy.
Yeah. What's better, like in your mind, it's like it's better than what I'm doing now at school.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like, and this is some people that say this about getting a trade, is it's like I feel like I was wasting my time at school rather than, at least when you're doing your trade and your apprenticeship, you're contributing to to build it, make it to a building and all that kind of stuff.
And I think there's really something super satisfying about getting to the end of the day and being like, I did this.
I built
physically,
this.
there is a change in something that I did today, and I can see my work that I put in, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Did your experiences as a plumber, like work experience as a plumber, did that make you decide to be a chippy instead?
Well, I was either going to be a plumber, a bricklayer, or a carpenter. Those were my first two thoughts.
Yeah.
Plumber, mostly because my boss got me. Also, my dad drove me to my boss's house, and he was Lebanese, so we get this breakfast thin wrap or pizza thingy called manouche.
Oh yeah, manouche. Yep.
And it was like, have you had it before?
I think
no.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I've had it either, but yeah.
And he said, "Oh, you got to try this one. Oh, you know what? While we're here, well, you can try this one, the meat and the lemon, and we'll get one more." I'm like, we haven't even got to site, and you want to feed me? I'm like, thanks, but I ate some of it.
Yep.
It was
so he's trying to win you over with food.
Yeah, but I kind of just food was a little like that side was part of me was like, maybe that will happen, but probably not. But I just loved seeing in households how things worked. I always wondered as a kid how things worked. Never got the opportunity to see in the construction process on how they were installed, what tools were required to install it. I got been having like no clue what tools were. I got done with the glass hammer and the left-handed hammer.
Yep. This is when you started your apprenticeship?
When I was still doing that
work experience.
Plumbing work.
Go get me a left-handed hammer.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know where it is.
Turned into left-handed screwdriver. I'm like, doesn't sound right, but okay.
Yeah. You're so young at that time. And you're like, oh, there must be a tool then.
Well,
I'll go find it.
Yeah. Especially when you're so used to like teachers can't really pull that anymore.
Yeah.
So they almost pulled the sky hook on me, but
What's the sky hook one?
Well, it's in carpentry. It's we have like things called ceiling dogs. They're like small, thin metal things that you put on like timber going this way called a ceiling, and another timber that goes horizontally across it called a hanger, and you nail 2 nails called clouts, 2 in the hanger, 2 in the ceiling. And I think Skyhook just came out of nowhere because there was that many things to learn as a first year. And they're trying to get me with, they first started with a hammer and a screwdriver.
Yeah.
I thought, nah, I know you're joking. And they said, oh, okay, yeah, you got us.
Hey, going up on them.
Yeah.
Chuck me a manouche as reward.
Oh, I was a bit too scared.
To eat a manouche?
Well, to ask for that because, I don't know, it was just a lot of boys and in a setting where I was the new guy.
Being a young apprentice can be tough, right?
Yeah, just kind of put my head down and did the work.
Yeah.
The Skyhook, I guess I was doing something. I had like 5 things in my head, kept repeating in my head. I'm like, okay, I got to get this, and this. And out of nowhere, someone was like, hey, get me a Skyhook while you're down there. I'm like,
sure.
I had my phone at the time. I'm like, surely that's not a thing. Surely that is not a thing because I've never heard it. I'm like, there's nothing. So I'm like, there's nothing in the truck or such thing in construction called a Skyhook is there? To one of the subbies, and he said no, there isn't. He said it was a good thing you came to me, or you asked someone before you actually did it.
Tried to find it.
How does it go being a Christian on, like, I mean, you work in commercial, right? But how does it go being a Christian in a, like, I mean, apprentices get abused. Like, I mean, I've worked in a building company, just residential, and I'm lucky in that respect that my company doesn't allow that to happen. But apprentices can get a really rough time sometimes. Did you experience that, or was it more? It wasn't too bad for yourself, and then how did you go like responding as a Christian in those situations? Yeah,
to be honest, I found with working with Lebanese people, it's sort of tough love. Definitely a different setting to what I was used to, but Dad had a couple of Lebanese friends, and I just thought, okay, this might be something I can just grab hold and make me stronger in my face. But I was lucky that the 2 head bosses of the company are Christian as well.
Right.
So there's no religious discrimination on site. If you're Christian or if you're Muslim, you're respected for that, which I found was very good. And that was one of my concerns being young and going into the construction industry, was not too sure, because I heard stories about apprentices being abused at sometimes, and the religious side, I wasn't too sure how difficult that this new company might be on me because I'm a Christian. I guess most of the negative thoughts just went through my head, but it was comforting to quickly notice that they didn't discriminate whatsoever.
That's nice. Do you ever chat to the Muslim guys about your faith? And how does that go?
Yeah, they're probably
have you
the most laid back.
Deep theological debates, or is it not so much?
Not really. I guess I would say it's probably on the most respective side. They respect you for your belief or thought, and that you respect theirs, and they're completely fine with anything you believe in. there's no deep talks about it, I guess. Nothing of the sort that I've come across so far.
Yeah.
My 3 years and 4 months with the company.
I mean, it's tough growing up when you're that young in apprentice. Like, so you haven't even finished school, and then building's a reasonably aggressive male environment.
Yeah.
So you've got to like find your feet pretty quickly. What about has that been different as you've got older? Like you've been, like you obviously can. I mean, the best way probably to earn respect is to try and do your job properly and to not make too many mistakes and all that kind of stuff. But how does that, like, how over those 3 years and how many months? Sorry, 3 years, 3 years, 4 months.
Yeah.
How has that changed now that you're not the green apprentice anymore? You actually know what you're doing mostly. Like you've almost finished your trade. How has that like changed over that time, and how have you like found it in terms of your working environment changing?
I guess you feel a bit more confident. In my company, once you learn something and you learn how to sit in front of the tradesman or do the work in front of the tradesman, behind the tradesman without being asked, they want you to get into that rhythm. And then once you get in the rhythm, you can then also learn something on the side or as you go. They like to have a good flow where people aren't standing around, they know what they're doing. Because I know we had some apprentices that didn't really want to put in the effort, and I guess they want you to put in the effort, so you improve. They know they will have like a little bit of leniency because you're fresh not to the scene, and you don't know anything of the trade that you're trying to learn. I guess you don't feel like you're the outsider anymore as well, because you've gotten to know most of the crew a bit more, maybe got a bit more connections with, I felt you have a bit more connections with a few of the boys. So you're not outside, I guess, the work friend group. You're amongst them. You don't have to try and work your way in, try and impress them or something.
There's a lot of competitiveness on sites. I've noticed, right? Does that happen? Like, oh, look how good I can do this. Oh, no, that's the wrong way. I've got to do it this way. How do you navigate that?
I just take it in. People have their own ways. Some are old school. Some, because I work with an old school worker, and amongst all the, I guess, younger guys, they're just different strategies to do things, how to get them done. Some might take longer, might be neater, shorter, might not have been as neat, but at the end of the day, it gets it done. In my first year, I just thought, okay, they know what they're talking about, so just did what they did. If I did it in a way that didn't please someone, they would let me know, and they said they would want me to pick out who told me, and I would just tell them off.
Was that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good thing to not be tricked by any worksite banter, like with the hammer and screw and stuff. Starting to get an idea of what the work we're doing will look like after we've done it. Just overall confidence.
That seems important when you're building, is like knowing exactly what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
Where are you building right now? Like, where are you working right now?
I am
in a big office tower or something?
No, the work experience was commercial.
Yep.
The company I'm at is residential.
Okay.
So we're working on we sometimes do like government jobs or something, but mostly residential. We're doing a duplex in Miranda.
Yeah, okay.
So nice and close.
Yeah.
That's all you want.
Great. It's always good to not have to travel very far from where you work.
Yeah. Probably first 2 years, it was near Auburn. And
Yeah,
I
right.
had to get either mum or dad to drive me. Most likely mum
That's
to
tough.
drive me. And she said, I was very tired.
Yeah. Well, that's the least you can help your mum out.
Yeah.
Working closer to home now. You got anything else, Brayden?
How was that? So you spoke about Camp 1 at Menai being a big time, and then leaving and going to school. And going on site. That was another big shift for you. How did your relationships at church at that time go later on in high school and leaving and going and doing your trade? How did you find church after that shift of mindset of?
Not too sure.
I'm mainly saying it because that's when you kind of started coming a lot more.
Yeah.
Well, that's when we saw more of you.
Yeah. I guess I would say just more encouragement. Being also, as I said, being in a workplace that didn't discriminate in your religious faith was also pretty cool, as well as coming to a church that was like all ages, all stages thing. Was a breath of fresh air again. Yeah.
Is that because your experience was only like kind of just families? Or is it like a certain group of people?
Yeah, certain group. I guess you could say my older church as a family was a certain group of people. Yeah, just didn't really feel like the same.
And are you in leadership now as well?
Yeah,
church?
I am.
So tell us about that. So what's your role, and then why did you decide to take that up?
Okay, role is help out with just main part of youth. If they need help preparing stuff, I will.
That's good.
But if they don't need me to, I'll just I guess float, see how kids are doing, encourage them to go into games or the activity.
Was there like particular reason why you chose to be a youth leader?
Probably because I was looking up to quite a few people here. It would include, let me see, Brayden. That guy.
Can't stand him.
Brayden, Ethan, Beck. It was Katie, Stu, Jared, Haley, Daniel, Renee. I just felt like they were extremely good teachers and examples of being loving towards everyone, encouraging, having fun with the things you do, but also keeping in mind that everything you do and are able to do is because of God. And I just felt like I want to help change kids' life if I can. I felt they did to me. It was a bit surreal in some way. I'm like, oh, damn.
You were just so keen, like, so you just, more you're saying is just like, I want to do what these guys have done for me for other people in terms of like partnering on and saying, hey, I'm going to help you with your Christian walk. I want to help you either become Christians or help you if you're already a Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Last question, Brayden.
I think it's just a pretty cool reflection when I think of Rob's year is the first year that went from year 7 all the way through youth group for here at Soul Revival.
Mm-hmm.
So Rob and Fox and Nadia.
the first full year.
And Timford at the end.
Full tenure of
service. So then, so we take the years away at the end of their school for a schoolies trip. And I think their schoolies was just so much fun.
We did have one injury, but that was fine.
Yeah, that was fine. It was also eventful. We were meant to go somewhere else than we actually ended up going, but then because of the bushfires, it feels like so long ago talking about bushfires. Right. We ended up going just down the coast, and it was really nice. I think it's just getting to spend time over the years with this crew, and like I took Rob and stuff to kick when they were in year 9 or year 10 and stuff. So like, yes, lots of fun memories, but also, yeah, I think just seeing the way that you guys have matured and grown up, and a lot of you are still youth leading, and it's rad. Like, yeah, it's a lot of fun doing those kinds of things, and yeah, I'm just glad to still have Rob around and hanging out on Fridays.
Yeah,
it's
that's
very
awesome.
fun.
Well, I mean, it's cool that you were like, and this is something that we obviously like to practice at Soul Revival, is that Rob, you were led through through youth group, and now you want to go back and do exactly the same thing. So now went through as a youth kid, a youth crew, and then you're going back as a leader and doing the same thing. So that's super encouraging.
And I want to encourage Rob that he is definitely one of those people that sees someone like who looks a bit on the outer, is maybe looking unsure, and he goes and he's always looking out for those people. And I think that's a super encouraging thing, especially hearing about how that affected your walk and earlier experiences at church. I think that God's really taught you in that to be open and looking for someone who's on the outer or maybe not fitting in as easily. And I think you identify that person really well, and then you go and love them. I think that's such an encouraging thing.
Massively. Well, that's definitely something I'm going to take out of this podcast for sure. So, thank you so much for being on, Rob. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
That's right. Thanks for telling us all your stories, even though we had to really focus in on that last 5 years of your life so far. Guys, if you're listening, check out the Soul Revival shop. Brayden is actually wearing the Love God, Love Others hat, which you can actually just...
You didn't even get into Snice or any
Snice.
of the other memes. Or there's lots of...
Well, I don't know about these memes. If you want to bring out the memes.
Rob actually... I don't know if you invented a word or just stole it off Wilco.
It was Wilco that kept saying it. I'm like, that's pretty saucy. I might keep it going.
There's not many people that get identified as a catchphrase.
Oh,
with their own catchphrase, and Snice is Rob's. So I do have a Snice. We have a couple of Snice hats floating around. That's from Rob's schoolies.
We might try and get them on the shop.
Yeah,
we should do that.
Snice hat, limited edition.
If there's some left, yeah. But they'll be like $1,000.
Oh, they're supreme. Like, like right. Snice brick, Snice crowbar.
Where does Snice come from?
I don't know.
So you're saying it was saucy?
It was heist, wasn't it?
It was. I think it was. I don't know. I think it was Luke just mucking around with Jared one night at youth. I think it was still the time we were like going to people's houses and whatnot.
Yeah. So we didn't actually mention that, but when
in the wilderness.
when we were at PAC, which is President Avenue Community Church, when they were lovingly letting us use their building on a Saturday night before we planted here at the factory at Soul Revival. So Rob came along like in the early days. That was when youth was still moving. We were relying on families putting their hand up and letting us meet in their houses for youth group, which is pretty rad. So that would have been early. And this is obviously Luke, who is Ethan's age. They were still in youth group at this point.
Yep.
And so Luke was hanging out with Jared.
Yeah. I guess I just like vibing out, and then overheard Luke saying with Jared, "Oh, so nice."
Oh, so nice.
And just saying hi as well. I'm like, that's pretty funny. It's pretty cool as well. So I kept So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll keep saying that.
So it's very nice.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's on the hat.
Yeah.
So because you just like made the Snice school.
Rob became the Snice guy. Like,
Snice guy. Oh, he's such a Snice guy.
In many, I can't imagine there's many group chats where that's not your nickname.
That's cool. Well, that's a good way to end it though. With the Snice guy. I think that's the title actually. Snice guys. Snice guys finish first. Snice guys finish last. We'll figure that out. Anyway, thanks heaps for being on the pod, Rod. Really appreciate it. I think I just called you Rod. I said Pod Rod. Thanks for being on the pod, Rob.
That can be the name.
Yeah, Pod Rob. Anyway, thanks for being on. Check out Soul Revolver Shop if you haven't already. There is still a lot to buy on there. So check that out. And we always like to finish with a one way. So let's do that. You know what a one way is? A Snice way? One way.